and welcome to my March TBR video. So as March is middle grade March, as established by Krista, who is Books and Jams on YouTube, Katie, who is A Life in Between Words, and Amanda, who is On the Middle Shelf, founded this wonderful read-along where in March we all read middle grade books. I typically try to really settle into that, and I don't usually choose a lot of books outside of the middle grade genre. So I'm going to go ahead and start with those books. There are a few other genres that I am going to read just because of read-alongs and other books that I'm interested in continuing, but I did want to really make this a heavily middle grade March TBR video. So first we have the read-alongs, and that is with Krista and Amanda and Katie. They'll do videos each week on their YouTube channel of Middle Grade March, and so they've chosen two books to kind of have all of us read together. And those are The Secret Garden and Plotting the Stars Moongarden by Michelle Berry. I'm sure that you are familiar with The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. This is just a classic. It is a book that we have read together as a family. It's a book that I read growing up. I love my old Tasha Tudor illustrated version. I just love it so much. So I don't know how much of this I will read along, but I know it well enough that I can join in any discussions. But what I have not read before that I do want to make sure that I read is Plotting the Stars Moongarden. So this is a sci-fi take on The Secret Garden. So on planet Earth, plants became evil. And so as a people, humans left to go live in space. And our main female character, Myra, is living on the moon and experiencing some of that coming of age angst and issues. So I just love the idea of a sci-fi Secret Garden retelling, and I am excited to read this with everyone else during middle grade March. So the ladies who are organizing Middle Grade March came up with 5 prompts to go along with the read-along. And these prompts are really just guides as you're choosing your TBR. So I did a video on my recommendations for each of those prompts, but what I'm going to share right now is what I've chosen that I have not read before that fit into those prompts. So the prompts are an author with 3 names, flowers on the cover, involves travel, is part of a series, and was published in the 1900s, which just makes me chuckle and feel old. So first, I'm going to start with the author with 3 names. I have Diana Wynne Jones and The Merlin Conspiracy. This is the author who wrote Howl's Moving Castle, which is her most well-known story in that whole series. This is a series of hers that I have not read. I love Arthurian tales, so I'm excited to read Diana Wynne Jones' take on it. I do think she has really kind of diverted the story from King Arthur and really focused on Merlin, the wizard, which I love. Have you ever watched that TV show? I think it's on Netflix. It has young Merlin. Anyway, I digress. It is a hefty book for middle grade March. Typically, I'm used to reading maybe thinner books, and because they're middle grades, they can kind of go fast. But I am committed to dividing this up and making sure that I know for the 31 days in March how many pages I need to read each day in order to complete this by the end of March for middle grade March. The next author with 3 names is Catherine Gilbert Murdoch, and this is The Book of Boy. This is a Newbery Honor book, but I think it is set in the medieval times. It says at the top, a mystery, a miracle, and an epic adventure. I had my oldest read this as a school book a few years ago, and she absolutely loved it. She said it's been one of her favorite school books. So I am excited to read this. My youngest is probably going to read this for school this spring, so I thought maybe we could read it together and talk about it. The next prompt is flowers on the cover. So I have two. I have Lloyd Alexander's The Iron Ring. I've really enjoyed Lloyd Alexander's The Puritan Chronicles. He actually has a Newbery winning book in that with, I think, The High King, which is one of the later books. But I have found this book a few years ago, and it's been on my TBR stack for a while. So one of the things that I love about these prompts is all of these books I've been wanting to read, and I just had to look at them with a critical eye to be able to figure out where they fit into the prompts. So that's been really fun. And because it's got flowers on the cover, it's like there's my impetus to pick this book up and actually read it instead of continually kind of kicking the can down the road on it. So in this we have Tamar, who is a gambler, and he loses a bet and he ends up having a debt. And there is an iron ring that gets put on his finger to symbolize that debt. And he realizes that he cannot kind of live his life just with this ring of debt on his finger, and that he needs to go out on a quest to figure out how to pay his debt. It says along the way, he's joined by a fast-talking troublemaker monkey, as well as a bedraggled eagle. And so there's sort of this ragtag group of people who gather together, and through his trying to pay off his debt, I think he gets himself into a bigger battle situation within this world. In the back, it describes it as a fast-moving, rich fantasy, which is exactly what I am interested in for this month. And then I also have Greenwild. This is by Pari Thompson. My oldest has just started this, but I told her I would, I also want to read it. So again, maybe we'll read it kind of together and be able to talk about it. It's really a lovely book. I love the map. In this, we have our main character, Daisy. Daisy knows that her mother is keeping secrets, but she doesn't know what. Well, one day her mother vanishes, and she decides that she is going to try to find her. And through trying to find her, she ends up traveling to another world, basically Greenwild. And she befriends a young boy who's like a genius botanist. I think there is a talking cat who is also in this as well, which... again, that's gonna just get me right away. So I'm excited to read this with my oldest and to be able to talk about it together. While it does work for the flowers on the cover, just like this, they both also would work for the prompt for including travel. So I could read one of these and fulfill both of those prompts. For the travel prompt, I have quite a few books. The first one that I wanted to mention is Swallows and Amazons by Arthur Ransom. This will be a reread for me. I am reading this with our Cozy Reader book club. I'll be sure to put all of the information down below. If you're interested in joining, we meet on the third Saturday of the month at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time via Google Meet. So it is a virtual book club. And for the month of March, we specifically thought through choosing a middle grade book so that we could join in on the middle grade March fanfare. And we chose Swallows and Amazon. If you have not read this book, it is fantastic. This also would fulfill the prompt of being part of a series because Arthur Ransom, I think, found so much acclaim with this book. He actually continued the series on, and I think it's a pretty lengthy series. I have only read this. However, there is a movie out there. I think I watched it on Prime, that while it doesn't stay completely true to the book, I think it does a really great rendering of this story. So there's that as well. But in this, we follow a family of young children whose father is off working, and the children come with their mother to the Lake District of England, and they end up having access to a boat. And so they just kind of zip around through the lakes. They make some friends of some pretty tough sisters. There is peril and danger. The thing that I love the most about this is that while the mother is a caring mother, she really allows her kids to kind of run free and to just experience life, and they camp out on some of the islands. It's just a really beautiful story of a wonderful childhood in nature, and just a great story. So This would work for the travel because they are traveling all around in the Lake District and in the lakes. It also would work for a book written in the 1900s, as this was written in 1930. Okay, next I have Peter and the Star Catchers. This is by Dave Barry and Ridley Pearson. Dave Barry, I think, is known for humorous writing, so I'm fully expecting to laugh about this. This is obviously a take on Peter Pan, but I think this is the prequel. So I guess how Peter ended up in the situation that he was in with the Lost Boys and with Captain Hook and Smee. So I, again, have had this for quite a while, and this would fit for the travel prompt because they're traveling all on the high seas. And so I think there's also an audio version of this, which I might try as well. I've been wanting to read that for a while, so I'm really hoping that I get to it. I have this A School for Sorcery by E. Rose Sabine. So I chose this for the travel prompt. Again, I've been wanting to read this, so I just kind of like fit it into the whatever prompt, and the fit in prompt was travel because our female main character does have to travel from her home to this school for sorcery. The cover to me looks so 80s. This book actually, I think, was written in the early 2000s. So the cover, I think the main reason I got it in the very beginning was because I was like, oh, this looks like an old, like pre-Harry Potter book, but it actually is not. I do love the kind of gray or light academia of wizards in a school for sorcery. So I'm looking forward to diving into this and seeing if it really does live up to the hype of a wizard school with a lot of danger. So next we have The Apothecary, and this is by Maile Malloy. This could also be a book that is in a series, but this is set in 1952, and our main characters move from, this is a family of children, move from Los Angeles to London. So I think, honestly, the cover is really why I chose this. I think I found it either in a little free library or in a used book setting, but I do love the idea also of apothecaries and poisons. I think once this family moves to London, there are two boys that befriend each other, and one of the boys' father goes missing. And so they kind of join forces together to try to find him and figure out what's going on. And again, because of the apothecary part of this story, there's potions and ancient grimoires with, listing out all of these different ingredients that make potions that do certain things. So I just found it intriguing, and I'm hoping to get to this as well. The next prompt is books that are part of a series. I mentioned at the beginning of the year in a video that I did about series that I really want to put a dent in or hopefully finish in 2025. And this was on that list, and that is Susan Cooper's The Dark is Rising series. I've read the first book in that series and enjoyed it. It is set through the 12 days of Christmas. So I read it, I think, last year during the 12 days of Christmas time frame. And I have not gotten back to it, and I really want to. So the next one is Green Witch, and then we have The Gray King and The Silver on the Tree. The Gray King is actually a Newbery Medal winning book. So I am going to keep my expectations for myself somewhat low and just try to get to The Green Witch. But if I'm really enjoying it, I may just try to continue through to see how far into completing this series I can get. This also would fit for the prompt of being written in the 1900s because this was actually written in the 70s. And while it is a middle grade book, I think it is very quintessential 1970s children's fantasy, which means it's pretty high fantasy and the world building is pretty complex. So it's not sort of what I would consider like Greenwild. I think will be pretty, wonderful world building, but not so much high fantasy. This was pretty complex when I started to get into it in the first book, and I fully expect Susan Cooper to continue in that theme. Even the text is pretty small. So anyway, again, hoping to make a dent in this. So for my 1900s publication book. I chose Florence Hightower's The Secret of the Crazy Quilt. This was published in the 1970s. I don't think I've heard anybody talking about Florence Hightower or even specifically The Secret of the Crazy Quilt. I found this in a little free library a while ago, like probably a year ago. And I continually take a look at it and think I really should read that because it has the potential to be one of those diamonds in the rough. So we have this story of children who go to their grandmother's shore house that's on the shore during the summer. I believe the grandmother passes away, but they find this quilt and there's some connection with the quilt with events that happen in the past. There is rum running. There is, I think, like secret treasures in a cove. There's also like multiple points of view within the children in the family. And it actually spans starting from 1926 to 1943. So I'm just continually intrigued by this and want to give it a chance and see if it's a book that I will really enjoy. So there you have the 12 books that I have for the middle grade March prompts, and then the read-along book that I am planning on reading as well. And then knowing that 12 books is a lot, I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. So as far as other books for the month, I have the Unselected Journals of Emma Lyon by Beth Brower, and I am planning on reading the third book. Jen of Jen's Reading Life is doing a basically year-long read-along of Beth Brower's Emma Lyon series, and so March is the third installment. I am really, to no one's surprise, loving this series immensely. It reminds me of during the Victorian era when they would do serialized literature where each week they would publish something. I feel like this is following that idea, and it just really kind of scratches that itch of kind of continuing along. And because it's in diary format, you just really feel like you're getting to know Emma Lyon. It just is a magical experience. So I do want to continue that. I also have a few new releases that I have committed to reading the advanced reader copies for and have also ordered on pre-order. And some of those will be coming in March. So I am planning on doing a video on those, and so I will share those. So make sure that you subscribe so that you can see next week what the anticipated releases and pre-orders that I am going to be reading in March, as well as through the summer. Please let me know below what you are excited to read for middle grade March and how you are planning to participate. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time.